Hello sunflowers, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for joining me. Today's video is sponsored by Aura. I want to thank them very much for this sponsorship. It means a lot to me. I think Aura is a really great app, a really lovely platform, and I can't wait to talk to you a little bit more about them later in the video. I am going to be talking today about 10 spiritual tools, obviously, that I think for me hold major clout and major sway at this time in my life. I'm going through a lot right now. I am in the final stages of writing my second book about witchcraft, and there's a lot of pressure there. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of there's a little bit of insecurity. Okay, I think Rebel Witch did well, and I'm pleased with that. I think people know what to expect from me, and I think I know what to expect from people's reactions to what I write, but I want to make sure it's the best it can be. And there is definitely a little bit of like jitters and nerves involved in that. I'm also taking part in more collective action than is usual for me, and I think it's going to remain that way for the rest of my life. I think I'm going through some kind of really important awakening in relation to, collective struggle in a way that I don't think was happening fully before. I think I'm firing on all cylinders now about a number of different issues, and that's causing me to have to, recalibrate and stay centered and be strong and do a lot of contemplation. I'm also going through a bereavement journey, as many of you know, and that is something that I navigate every single day. Some days are worse and more complex and more tangled than others, and I don't really know how it's going to play out until I wake up and get into my body, and by that point I'm kind of able to witness what it is that I need. And sometimes I need a lot, guys. I'm not going to lie. It is a very trying time. It's been a very difficult year for me on levels. So it's lovely for me to be able to come here and talk to you about some of the tools that have been keeping me sane and helping me along the way. They're all going to be spiritual tools. I know that not all of them are going to make sense for all of you, and I'll be really interested to know in the comments which ones resonate, which ones you want to try, and which ones you also swear by. Spiritual tool number one that I would like to talk about that contributes massively to my sanity, my strength, and my empowerment, and always has done, guys, is spiritual reading. I don't remember the first time I got into spiritual reading. I remember being encouraged to talk about the Bible a little bit with my stepdad's parents and read parts from the Bible, but that didn't really grab me too much. But I remember asking my dad to get me a copy of the Bhagavad Gita when I was a kid and trying without success to navigate my way through that text and just being fascinated by it and wishing that I understood it, as I later came on to do a lot more. But bless me, I was only like 10. Somebody was selling them at a service station when I was a kid, and I really wanted one, and my dad was like, okay. I was raised in a very, spiritually loosey-goosey environment, guys. Lucky for me. So I remember that being kind of the birth of my fascination with spiritual texts. But I'm not just talking about spiritual texts with spiritual reading. I'm talking about yes, spiritual texts and spiritual classics and analyses and breakdowns of spiritual texts, but I'm also talking about articles about spirituality and about anything that is adjacent to that interests me. I love spiritual poetry. I have quite a few books, anthologies, if you will, of poetry about God and poetry about goddess and poetry about nature. So my spiritual reading, I think, takes on different kinds of forms. If it's been a while since you did any sort of distinctly spiritual reading and you could do with it, I would at least recommend rereading one of your favorite spiritual texts that you've read before, that did you a lot of good and impacted you greatly. I'm not shy of a reread. I used to be quite shy of a reread. I didn't really like it when I was younger, but these days I love rereading, and I love discovering what I feel about the text that was different to how I felt about it before. So I can definitely recommend that. I'm doing some spiritual reading at the moment, so I'll tell you what I'm into. I am reading for the second time Birthing the Holy. I know I mentioned it on the channel before in the vlog that I did recently where I was in Brighton. This is an amazing, amazing book by Christine Walters Painter, and I just want to really thank her for bringing this into the fucking world. It is incredible. I absolutely love it. It just helps you to explore so many of the different facets on the diamond of the Holy Mother, and it's been so useful for me for prayer. It's just been incredible. So I'm really, really pleased with it, and going through now and annotating it on the second read. So I really love that. That's really potent for me as someone who works with the Holy Mother. I also just recently purchased Cole Arthur Riley's book, This Here Flesh. Cole Arthur Riley is the creator of the Black Liturgies Instagram account. And if you do not know about Black Liturgies, I suggest you go over there and give it a read. Incredible. What an incredible writer. Someone that really just digs deep into my soul and then invites me to come down. He's like, hey, look down here. And I'm like, oh my God. So I just had to buy this book, and I'm very excited for the one that's coming out in 2024 as well. Black Liturgies is really a bit of a mother account for me on Instagram. I go there when I need the medicine, when I need the tough love, and when I need to reconnect with myself. So this is certainly for me a spiritual text. I'm also working with a couple of other things that might not seem explicitly so spiritual, but they are for me. I have bought another book of Mahmoud Darwish's poetry, this time The Butterfly's Burden. Darwish was like a really, really fucking important Palestinian poet and one of the most important poets in the modern Arab world. And this book is blowing me away. It's beautiful. And I'm also reading A Map of Absence, an anthology of Palestinian writing on the Nakba. I just started this last night. Really amazing essays, stories, and poems. And to me, this is also part of my spiritual reading. So your spiritual reading can be far and wide, and it can be all kinds of different things. It can be rereads. You can swap spiritual texts with friends or other witches. You can hit up the library. You can order things in at the library. You can go out of your way to read something that you're curious about that doesn't really reflect your beliefs at all. I've definitely done that, and I find that really interesting. But the stuff that I'm reading right now at the moment, this is like soul food spiritual reading. This is just absolutely delicious. I'm very happy to be reading these. I'm very lucky. I'm actually on a depth year this year, so I'm only supposed to be buying books like 4 quarters of the year. So there's like this little gap quarterly where I can pick up some books if they really mean something or if they really matter. And luckily for me, I really just didn't feel moved to buy many books this year, to be honest. So I've given myself a little bit of a blowout at the end of 2023. Okay, second spiritual tool that is just so powerful for me: chanting in water. Chanting in water. It's just, how is it so essential and so grounding at the same time? How is it so embodying and so trippy at the same time? Someone explain it to me with crayons, because I'm really fascinated. I don't know how it just is. It's just so healing. It's so potent, and I've done it for years. I just really want to bring it to your attention and to my attention right now as an incredible spiritual tool. I can't get enough of chanting in the shower, chanting in the bath. It's good, darlings. It's good. The water is so cleansing. It's so embodying. It brings me into the immediacy of right now. It gives me a sense of mindfulness. It feels nurturing, and the acoustics are really good for the chanting in the bathroom. I mean, in general, acoustics in the bathroom tend to be good. There's just something about it that I love. I usually chant Ong Namo Guru Dev Namo. I bow to the teacher that lives inside me. But you can chant anything that you like, anything that resonates with you. You can also just sing. You can hum. You can just sort of go through the scale and hum it or sing it. I think that's also powerful. You can also just speak words of power. You can speak affirmations. You can recite things that poems or song lyrics or quotes. I think it's not really so much about the voice carrying as it is about hearing the voice and really responding to the embodiment that comes from the water at the same time. And it's a really good time to also just do your cleansing, to just make sure that you feel very locked and stabilized in your mood and your vibration and your outlook. And that whatever you've sort of come across that has unsettled you or that you've had to deal with over the course of the day or the day before, you can really just like relax and let that go into the water and see it wash down the plug hole and just feel like that's been effectual for you. It certainly is for me. Lately, I've been really trying to leave my phone out of the bathroom. I do have a tendency to want to put my little speaker on in the bathroom and listen to a long form video that I'm watching, something informative usually. And I really enjoy that. I love just like getting under the shower and like listening to something that I feel is nurturing my brain or expanding my brain. But that stops me from actually doing my shower chanting. And so I've tried to sort of ease up on that. Like I just went for a shower about an hour ago, and I made sure that I left my phone in the living room. So I know I've talked on the channel a few times before about the benefits of not taking your phone to bed with you. But I think for me, one thing that I still need to drum into my brain is the benefits of not taking my phone to the bath with me, to the shower, to the bath, you know, because that's really some key spiritual time where you can like top up and tune in and get fucking centered. And if I'm just listening to, you know, some sort of long form essay about the history of whatever the fuck, I'm not doing that chanting. And it does have a really beautiful effect on my nervous system. And it does help me deal with what might be quite a high allostatic load. So yeah, I do like to get that time in. And that's something that I did remind myself today. I was conscious about my shower time today. I did some chanting and I feel so much better, guys. So I just thought I would put that out there. Love a little bit of humming, singing, chanting, reciting, anything like that in the shower. Oh, it's just lovely. Or in the bath, you know. Oh, I want to do it right now again. Oh, but I can't. I've got to do the rest of this video. Number 3, devotional workouts. Many of you know already that I do dedicate my exercise regime to my matron goddess Hel. That was a little dealio between me and her, and that is still ongoing. I still very much witness all of my physical exertion, my workouts, my Pilates here, and then my weights and cardio at the gym. Even sometimes my walks, if I'm going to go on a particularly long walk, I still witness all of that stuff as being an effort on behalf of Hel and given to her in honor. So it's an offering to her. And I find that when I make a workout devotional, there's so much more to it. It's really powerful. It's not just about being physically embodied, feeling physically stronger, getting my mental health in order, really feeling like I've done something really conscious and really pleasing with that time, but it also links me into goddess. What could be better, darlings? So there is sort of that added element to it. And I find that especially when I'm stressed or I'm feeling just really all over the place and I need to come back to myself, that really makes all of the difference because I am connecting to my body. It's really important for me as someone who has a spinal injury that I keep the core strong and I make sure that I really do not abandon my body. I must not stop speaking to my body, and working out is a really core part of that. I also suffer with depression and other mental health symptoms, and that means that exercise, again, for me is an absolute must. You know, I need that endorphin kick, but also there's that other room when you do a devotional workout, when you actually dedicate your workout to something spiritual and you say, I acknowledge you and I give you the fullness of this offering. I give this effort to you in service, in love, in gratitude, in honoring, and you are with me as I do this workout. It just adds a whole extra dimension that is deeply and specifically spiritual. So I definitely recommend trying that if you haven't done anything like that before, or if it's been a while since you did that. Number 4, enchanted food and drink. Enchanting anything that I'm going to put into my body that is going to nourish me really brings, again, that extra dimension to something as seemingly mundane. You know, it can get mundane to be eating and drinking. I don't think we always bring our full consciousness to the process. And so there's something very special for me about programming my food. I know some people don't like that terminology of programming something as opposed to enchanting it or whatever. But for me, I love it. It just sounds really fucking modern and up to the minute. Programming my food. I really enjoy, you know, really sort of giving purpose and giving essence to something that I'm going to put into my body. The tea that I'm drinking right now, the Earl Grey that I'm drinking, has been activated, enchanted, programmed, whatever wording you want to choose, for the purpose and intention of getting this video done on time and staying plucky and fresh as I head towards my evening clients. You know, so I put a lot of invigoration into this. The purpose for this tea was for it to bring me invigoration. And what is really special for me is if I can actually enchant or program or work with any food or drink that's going to go into my body, preferably the day before or at least a few hours before, but definitely the day before is really lovely because then I get really excited to ingest that stuff, whatever it is. So, for example, if you have some loose leaf tea in your kitchen and you know that in the morning you're going to want to have a pot of that loose leaf tea, might I recommend taking out that loose leaf tea, putting your fingers through it a few times, just lifting it and dropping it gently, and speak to those tea leaves. Tell those tea leaves what you intend for them. What are you programming them for? When you drink the tea that is created by those leaves, what is going to happen as a result? What is your intention? And when you give the tea that high intentionality, and then you just leave it in a jar or leave it in the cup, and when you wake up in the morning, you'll be like, oh, my enchanted tea. I enchanted some tea last night. It's time to drink that tea. And then it gives a whole new feeling and a whole new depth to the tea that you're going to be drinking. You're not just getting up drinking your morning tea. You're getting up drinking your morning enchanted tea. Thank you very much. And then you might feel moved as well to sit at your altar while you drink it, or to just go into contemplation, look out of the window, take some breaths, So everything becomes more conscious as a result of having like pre-enchanted your tea. It's a very ordinary, everyday thing, having a cup of tea. I mean, of course, it's always incredible, darling. Always a majestic experience having tea. But, it's such a small thing. We can make it, though, into this really mammoth experience when we enchant the drink or when we enchant the food. I've enchanted bread. I've even enchanted sweets. I've enchanted lollipops. I've enchanted ingredients for cake. I've enchanted pasta. I've enchanted salads. I'm not afraid of a bit of enchanted food. I don't do this all the time, but when I do, there's just this really special feeling of like, oh, I'm eating something today or drinking something today that has been kind of like pre-programmed to help me with whatever I knew the key challenges were going to be. And then it also helps you focus back in on those challenges rather than wake up all hazy and dazed and confused and be like, oh, what was I supposed to be doing today? You can be like, oh, one of the first things I'm going to do is eat or drink something that has been pre-programmed to help me with what the challenge is for today. So it helps you lock back into it as well. The fifth tool that I wanted to mention for sanity, strength, and empowerment is mindfulness. Mindfulness, observing, witnessing, being in the unfolding. I think that's a really big part of the work that I need to do pretty much every day at this point. And especially over the last year and a half, nearly 2 years, I have certainly experienced issues with stress and with depression and with my sleep cycle as well. My sleep cycle has been a little bit of a rascal, guys, on and off, I must say. And so I find it really useful to have things like guided meditations, sleep stories, and different tools that I can put into play to just make sure that I'm centered and I'm actually listening to myself. I'm paying attention to my mind. I'm focusing on and relaxing the body, and I'm easing tension. And those things help me to go to sleep, and they help me to feel like I'm with myself. I think self-abandonment for someone who's going through bereavement is actually a really big risk. And I've been trying not to take that risk, especially with the other things that I'm going through and dealing with at the moment. So I find tools like that really useful. And I have been using Aura. And I must say, Aura is incredible, guys. I'm very, very impressed with this app. It is beautiful. It is gorgeous to look at. It is very easy to use. It is also highly customizable. You can favorite any of the different soundscapes, sleep stories, meditations, or coaching sessions that you really enjoyed across the entire app. Everything is categorized. So if you're looking for relationship stuff, it's there. If you're looking for anxiety stuff, if you're looking for things to aid with sleep, all of those things are there, and they're all categorized. So you can favorite anything that you enjoy, and you can also make playlists, which is a feature on Aura that I really appreciate. The ability to be able to bring different tools together from the app that you found useful for different things and actually create your own customized playlist from those tools that you can revisit again and again is worth its weight in gold. I absolutely love that feature. One thing about Aura that I found particularly attractive, guys, is the fact that there are things on there that you wouldn't expect. So for example, with the soundscapes, I've used different apps before in the past, and the soundscapes are always things like ocean breeze, sounds of the forest, that kind of thing. Maybe you're going to get a campfire, and that's all well and good. And I love that. And Aura has all of that. Okay. It has that in abundance. But it has other things too that are really cool. Like it's got train noises, which I think was a really cool one, because actually the ambience of the sound of trains going along tracks and like crossing each other, etc., is actually very soothing for me. I've done a few really awesome meditation sessions at train stations, in fact, for that exact reason. I found that kind of sound to be really enjoyable. So it's got soundscapes like that. It's also got like electronic or industrial kind of sounds, I can't think what else, but it's like there's really interesting soundscapes on there that I did not expect. And some of the sleep stories are really awesome and different. I really enjoy like the nature-based ones, but I also enjoy the children's stories that you can get into there. There's just a real array of different things. So I found myself falling asleep to things I never would have expected, which is really righteous and can lead to also some very beautiful dreams. There are absolutely tons of coaching coaches and therapists and storytellers on this app doing different things, and so you're bound to find something that resonates with you there. Aura actually won the Best of Apple award for being the best sleep and mindfulness app, and it is used by over 7 million people, and I'm really not surprised whatsoever that is the case. You can get started today completely free with Aura using the link in my description. If you're looking for an app that really will help you to level up with your wellness, I highly suggest that you do that. If you are one of the first 500 people to click the link, then you will get the free trial, but you'll also get 25% off. That's the exclusive offer, so definitely make sure that you click through and do it sooner rather than later if you want to be one of those first 500. Aura, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to look into your tools and partake in the goodness that you provide. I will definitely continue to create my playlists and enjoy the soundscapes and enjoy the sleep stories. I'm very much loving it. Thank you. Number 5, the rosary. This little thing here. Yes, this little sucker. I absolutely love praying the rosary, guys. And it's become an ever more significant part of my personal spiritual journey. In the last year and a half, I have prayed the rosary more than I prayed it at any point previously while I was using them and collecting them. These rosaries have gotten a lot of action. I do have quite a few. I must admit, I am a little bit of a collector. And this one has a very special story behind it, but I won't go into it now. But yeah, I've got lots of different rosaries. I find the rosary to be a very, very high and tight alignment tool. It is an incredible devotional, meditational instrument, and I could not say enough good things about the rosary. So that's something that for me has been really sort of a steadfast staple in my spiritual diet this year. The great thing about the rosary is that you can pray it in the very traditional way, but you can also take it out of the box. You can use lots of different prayers. You can use some traditional Catholic prayers if you want to, and then mix them up with your own things. You can create completely your own devotional response to the rosary and use the tool in whatever way suits you. You do not have to use Hail Mary. You do not have to use the Glory Be or the Our Father. I definitely don't use the Glory Be or the Our Father, although the Hail Mary, that stayed. Okay, I always do use the Hail Marys on the decades, but I use different prayers on the other beads, you know, so I have mixed it up. I've mixed and matched. I'm honouring my Irish Catholic heritage, but I'm also taking it to a fruity kind of maverick Maddox area of things as well, where I get to do what I want with the rosary. And I'm really into praying novenas. I do like to pray a set of mysteries every few days, but sometimes I really like to get into a 9-day rosary novena and just chow down on a very specific intention and get that work done. And it really does create breakthroughs. It is very revelatory as a practice. If you would like to pray a 9-day novena with me, guys, then there is one happening on my Patreon from the 13th to the 21st of December. So come along. I'm doing it all tiers, so you can join as a cupcake, dollface or Pop-Tart, doesn't matter. Come along and get involved in the 9-day rosary novena. They're going to be pre-recorded videos, so you will be able to follow along at your leisure. There's no need to be there for a specific time, so it doesn't matter where you are in the world. You will be able to come along with us all and pray a novena. You do not need a rosary to pray the novena. You can literally just sit in contemplation, or you can use some mala beads, or you can use, you know, any beaded necklace that you have if you do actually want to be, you know, holding a physical tool. But you don't need to be. You can just close your eyes and like deepen into the work with me and the Holy Mother. So yeah, I think for me the rosary is something that, I mean, I never go away without one now. I've always got a rosary on me everywhere I go. So I think that's very significant. Sometimes I just like to hold one or fall asleep with one in my hand. So there is definitely that comforting physical element to it as well. The physicality of it, I think, and the look of it is something that I find comforting, and is something that I'm very used to coming from a Catholic background on one side of my family. So it's certainly something that's been around, you know, and I have seen it. So it does sort of link me into, I suppose, a lot of the comforting familiarity that I got from being interested in the rosary during childhood. But I definitely have upped my game rosary wise. So if you want to pray a neon novena with me, darling, then come over to Patreon and get involved. I would love to have you. Number 7, spiritual tools for sanity, etc. Drumming for me is a big one. I have been practicing on my my small sort of practice baron. This is a traditional Irish drum, and I can't remember when I purchased mine, but I did sort of leave it to the side for quite a while and did not bother with it for quite some time. But I've been picking it back up and practicing on and off this year, and I'm really loving it. I've got a few different tippers for it. This is my preferred one, and I've just been following online lessons and just just trying to get my inner metronome back to where it needs to be, because I used to drum when I was younger, but I must say that I am very rusty and very out of practice. So it's been slow going, but I can nail triplets now. I'm not going to be showing you on this video, but I have been recording my practices from the beginning right up until now. So at some point, I'm going to hodgepodge them all together into something and show you my progress from the very beginning when I did not know my arse from my elbow to now where I feel like I'm actually doing my Irish heritage, just a little bit of pride. So yeah, drumming for me is very embodying, it's very grounding, it's very empowering. And I've got to say that I'm really, really pleased that I bought this. I didn't want to buy like a big old thing, you know. I mean, many of you will have seen a baron, right? I mean, it's quite the big chunky drum. I didn't want to buy one of them because I wanted to know that I was seriously going to put in the practice and I was actually going to mean it and I was going to work on it. And I still don't think I'm ready for a big sucker. Not yet. I think I'm going to carry on with this, and I've got to be like really disciplined, show a bit more commitment, I think. But this year has been kind of a little bit wild with writing the book and everything else. So I'm not too annoyed with how I did. I did say during my depth year that the baron was one thing that I wanted to make sure that I put into my sort of weekly conscious time. And I think I've done okay. But I would like to come to it every day. I think that would be a much better thing for me. But I think drumming for me is a spiritual tool during times where I just need a bit more. I just need a bit of fucking something, you know. That will really do it. I feel like that was an excellent use of money for me, to be honest. Drumming just makes me feel so solid and so there and so significant. I feel within myself this internal significance. Not that I want to feel important, but that I want to feel that I'm capable and that whatever I do matters, that the power that I have is something to be used and held to myself, not just overlooked or dismissed or downplayed. I think I'm coming to a point in my life, I'm at a point very significantly in my life at the moment where I could choose to see the little things that I can do for others, for myself, for the planet, for collective liberation. You know, I could choose to look at those things and think, oh, they're small, that's nothing. Who am I? You know, what can I do? Or I can switch to the other avenue where I say, I can do something. I'm privileged enough to be able to do any little thing that I can do, any little way in which I can say something, do something, mean something, give something, be intentional about something is of importance. And I think drumming is what takes me from that apathetic, sad, like sort of sulky puddle of meh. It's what takes me from that to this empowered, incredible warrior stance where I say, no, if I can do anything before I go to bed tonight, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to tell myself that it means nothing and I'm nothing and the whole thing means nothing and let's just go into nihilism. You know, drumming makes me feel this purpose and this awakeness that I feel is just so important for me right now. Drumming will do that to you. Drumming will do that to you. Wow. I'm, you know what? I am percussive. I'm a percussionist at heart. I always knew I was, even since I was a child, and coming back to it has meant the world. Oh, I'm going to get emotional. Oh. Okay, number 8. Sacred dressing up. The dress up, the art of the dress up is something that for me holds ridiculous sway over my day. I've always known since I was a little girl that what I put on, like what I wear and how I choose to accessorize and how I put patterns and colors together has a massive effect on my psyche. It has a massive ability to shift my energy. And I have never, ever let go of that awareness. My entire adult life has played out like that. I like forming a relationship with my clothing and with my jewelry. I really enjoy sometimes just dressing up, just getting my dresses out, my jumpers, my necklaces, my earrings, you know, just different bits and pieces that I have, my skirts, my scarves. And I just like to put things together for a bit. I just like to stick some music on and put things together. But if somebody were to walk into my room at that time, first of all, who are you? I live alone. You're not invited. How did you get a key? I'm sorry. I'm feeling really immature today. First of all, like that would be weird. But second of all, I think if someone came in and they saw me doing that, they wouldn't see it as a spiritual act. But it is for me a massive investment of spiritual focus. Because I think when I'm doing sacred dress up, I'm tuning into how I want to feel. I'm tuning into what I want to do. I'm reconnecting with my sense of the divine through shifting my energy what I wear. You know, if I'm trying to achieve something specific, a specific energy or mindset or feeling of capability, I can do that through clothes. I can do that through getting the fuck dressed. And it's an art form for me. It's an art form and it's a devotional activity. I can dress for the purpose that I have in mind. I can accessorize for protection. I can even do sacred dress up time in order to figure out how I'm feeling or what I want or what needs to happen. Because if I'm confused about that, then how I choose to dress and how I choose to put things together will give me clarity on those things that I'm confused about. And suddenly I'm like, that's what needs to happen next. That's what I'm feeling. That's what the problem is. That's what I need to take action on. That's the spell that I need to do. And so it really does like lend itself hugely to my sense of empowerment. Honestly, if this sounds appealing to you and you've been telling yourself that you do not have the time, you do not have the decadence of time to just like spend an hour dressing up and looking at things in the mirror or putting outfits together, and you're telling yourself that's the kind of thing I would have done when I was like 12 years old, Kellyanne, but I can't do that kind of thing anymore. Go and do it if you want to do it. It is a spiritual act, and I absolutely refuse to be told otherwise. The ninth spiritual tool that I want to talk about for strength and sanity and empowerment in these difficult times is poppet work. The poppet is an incredible spiritual tool for me, and I know I've made at least 2 videos about it on the channel before. I'm going to leave links to those videos down below, so I'm not going to put too fine a point on the work that I do with poppets, because I know that I've actually engaged with you guys about this before, and I do love talking about poppet work. It is something that I am very, very keen on. It's something that I promote the benefits of when I do my one-to-one sessions with witches, when I talk in spiritual counseling sessions with people. And like I said, it's something that I have come to on the channel. But what I'm really doing lately in my poppet work that I'm finding very interesting is I'm doing sort of more large scale poppet work that involves photography. So I'll get my poppet, I will adorn my poppet however makes sense for what I'm trying to bring in or how I'm feeling in the moment. And then I will surround my poppet with candles and cards and crystals and objects and cut out words and things from magazines. I'll put string on the poppet and tie the string to something that represents something that I want to be tied to or that I'm trying to come closer to. And it becomes almost this tableau of stuff, right? And then I take photographs of the poppet so that I can remember how I felt in that moment. It's very much kind of this exploration, a kind of psycho-spiritual exploration of where I've been, where I am now, where I'm going, what I want, what I refuse to bring close to myself, and what is the thing that has to happen next? What is the next sacred right action? I do all of that and meet all of that out through the poppet. And a lot of the time, instead of doing spellcraft with a poppet, it is the photograph of the poppet that cements and confirms for me whatever it is that I was doing with it. So it's very ritualistic in flavour. And I've been thinking for a while now about doing a video on the channel about working with a poppet for an entire day, and just really going through some of the different ways that it's been catering to my spiritual needs, because it really has big time, and I cannot credit the poppet enough with having a really amazing effect on me. My poppet is representative of me, my body, my mind, my needs, my fears, etc. And it could be representative of a different part of me, but ultimately I usually always am using my poppet to represent me. And what I will do is I will just create this incredible outer working that sort of expands and extends beyond the poppet. And there'll be like layers of protection around it. And there'll be things I'm bringing in and there'll be things I'm releasing. And yes, I will take actions within that ritualistic space to symbolize things. But it's really the photographing of the poppet and the photographing of this thing that I've created around it that I find so interesting and meaningful. So maybe I'll talk about that in more depth, because maybe it will help some other people as well. But poppet work is amazing. It's great for mindfulness. It's great for empowerment. It's great for intentionality. So I definitely couldn't credit the poppet enough with giving me access to those things when I need them. The 10th and final spiritual tool that I wanted to really pick up on for the end of this video, darlings, is creating an astral toolkit for use with your spell work, your astral travel, that kind of thing. I have been doing that lately and it's been incredible. And what I mean is, like, when you put together a number of objects or amulets, a number of symbolic things, and you decide, okay, these are the toolkit for me, for my magic, for my writing, you know, my creative projects, for my astral work, all of this stuff, for my rituals, and putting together that kind of toolkit of objects that have different symbolic meaning meanings and playing with them and putting them into my workings and into my poetry has been really interesting, really interesting. I recently created this collection of 28 charms that I started using just from things that I'd cut out of magazines, and I kind of like named them and I gave them a set meaning. And I wanted to think of them like a set of runes, you know, something like that, where every single tool has its specific purpose and together they create a system. And I was using them in my pre-recorded meditations that I record for myself. I was using them, bringing them to mind during ritual and magic, during Sabbath celebrations and stuff like that. I was really connecting with how I could put those objects and the symbolic meanings of them into my poetry. So it's all been really interesting. And I've actually created a workbook for my patrons called The Mystic's Bag of Tricks, where I actually outline these 28 charms and describe the meanings and talk about different ways that you can work with them. So I'm not being stingy about this system of objects that I've created. I've actually given my patrons the opportunity to dip into this system as well and figure out how they can play with it and how it can benefit them as mystics and magicians. So if you want to check that out, you can see that on my Patreon as well. It's a 16-page workbook, The Mystic's Bag of Tricks. And so if you want to have a look at my 28 charms and how I've kind of put that system together and what it means, then you can grab that workbook over there on any tier that you want to get onto. But I would definitely recommend thinking about what your mystical toolkit is, you know, what kinds of objects, what kinds of beings would you like to put together into a system that you can take from and use when you are performing spells, when you're doing your creative work, you know, when you need to bring something to mind to center and calm you. That kind of work is really interesting. And I think that's the sort of stuff for me that really clicks me in to witchhood and makes me feel like the excitable, enthusiastic magician that I want to be. So if you've not done anything like that, then I would definitely recommend doing so. And like I said, if you want to check out my 28 charms and the voices of my 28 charms and how you can use them, then come and check out the system and do your own work with the system. Thank you so much, darlings, for hanging out with me and getting to understand a little bit about the spiritual tools that I've been using when things get a bit ropey. I would love to know down below, what spiritual tools are you using lately? Do you feel inspired to use any of the ones that I've spoken about today? Let's get talking about what is useful for you, because I think whenever we exchange and share with each other, we actually can get to the meat and potatoes of more things that we can use for our betterment and our mental health and our spiritual well-being. And I love all that shit. So don't be stingy. If you have things that you use and you know that they work for you, don't be shy. Come and tell us all what they are so we can all get involved. Thank you so much again, Aura, for sponsoring the video. Don't forget, guys, to click the link down below, go over and get your free trial and be in the first 500 for the 25% exclusive discount as well. When you actually start to get deeper into these incredible tools from Aura, I don't think you'll be sorry. Like I said, I've always enjoyed using apps and that kind of thing, but I think Aura has really blown me away. So definitely check that out if you're looking for something a little extra. Thank you so much for being with me again. Until next time, blessed be, my darlings. Mwah. Take care of yourselves.